Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting into? We are getting into the Day of the Jackal. This will be episode 6 and 7. What I'm going to tell you first off before we get into this video and into these episodes is what they've done, where we was able to binge watch from episodes 1 to 5. They've now decided to beat the last 5 episodes down, so it's one each week, so it's one every Thursday. So only episodes 6 and 7 are now up there. So that is what I am going to speak about with you all today. So I hope for those of you that have accessed it and can watch it are able to have a full-on conversation with me in terms of what you saw and what you thought about it. Anyway, before we get into this video, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do all the good things that you do, because of course you all know I am on the road to 1k. Right, let's get into it. So I would say that with these 2 episodes it was a little bit more faster paced, and you start to see a little bit more of the storyline starting to develop, basically in regards to the Jackal, especially in regards to the Jackal, and kind of looking at the scenarios and how he may have got to be the person that he is today, basically. So as it says in the title, the Jackal is the hunter now being hunted, and he's being hunted by Bianca and her team, and they are fast and steadfastly on his tail. Like, they're not giving up, and he knows it. I mean, he's literally within a hair's breadth of them, and he knows that his gig could be up at any time, but he's trying to, like, you know, avoid capture, as you would do as a famous freaking assassin, let's put it that way. So we'll recap episode 5. So with episode 5, you did see the Jackal go meet Norman, and Norman is the person who makes the Jackal his bespoke guns. So basically he needed a bespoke gun to be able to go through metal detectors, but even if it were to go through metal detectors and it went off, it is still going to be unassuming, basically. So what he did is he had a cast made, like a boot that you can put on your foot. Say if you've not even broken it, sprained it, or done some muscle damage, they'll usually put like a boot with straps on it on your foot. So that was basically going to be the harness and the style for the gun, and that's where he built the gun into, basically. So we know that the Jackal has been asked to kill this billionaire called Uden, because he's bringing out this product called River, which is basically going to open up transparency in regards to all these people that have so much money, where their money is going to, and how their money has come to them. Basically, we open up to certain sectors of the public, which, you know, certain rich people don't want that shit to happen. They wouldn't want that shit to happen. They wouldn't want all eyes on them, basically, especially if they're doing nefarious dealings with their money. So basically, this man has to die. So in enters the Jackal, which we already know. So what happens is I've already said that Bianca and her team managed to catch up with Norman at this compound where he was holding himself up. What they hadn't appreciated and realised that the Jackal would be there as well. So as they've got Norman tied up, basically about to question him, and Norman gets mad at Bianca in regards to Bianca telling him who gave them the information in relation to where they could find Norman. Norman jumps up out of his chair, hands tied behind his back, went to step forward to her to say something to her, and the Jackal like pinpoints him right in his noggin. So basically the Jackal had to shoot Norman because of the fact that he couldn't allow Norman to release any type of information to her, especially when he may be aware that, you know what, Norman is the one that created the bespoke gun that shot the politician in a couple episodes before, so he can't let that information go out. So the chase is on then. So Bianca is literally catching close to him, and it looked like Bianca's teammate and Bianca managed to see split second of who the Jackal was and the build and what he may look like, basically. So his cover is kind of like blown but not fully blown. So how he ends up getting away is he ends up jumping into the river below off a cliff. Bianca literally tries to shoot through this river but doesn't get him at all. As we know, that's not going to work at all. So he does manage to get away, ends up in someone else's land, ends up sleeping in this barn. As he wakes up, the owner to the barn is there, the farmer's there, with a gun in hand. As the Jackal then gets up to go and defend himself, he gets knocked out by the butt of this man's gun, and then all we know is he's held up, he's strung up by his arms, hanging from the ceiling. So that's where episode 5 ended. Basically, the Jackal is what I would call an unassuming person. So you would look at him and not believe that, you know what, he kills people for a living. So within this episode, as I've already mentioned, he has more flashbacks, which is starting to tell us a bit of his story. So as we know, the Jackal is of a man of many faces, and he can change them like a chameleon as he sees fit, basically. So Charlie, you know, aka the Jackal, and Charlie is not his real name, we've already gathered that as well, tries to play it calm and understated with this farmer. So you see that there's a continuous language barrier between the both of them, because this guy is Hungarian, Charlie's English. So we've kind of figured out now that Charlie is not necessarily a jack of all trades when it comes to languages, as I first thought, basically. So he's making this man feel that he has the upper hand of him, because this farmhand does not realize how much danger he possibly could be in if he keeps on antagonizing Charles in the way that he does. So basically the man does end up cutting Charles down, was going to let him leave until he ends up picking Charles's bag with the bespoke rifle in it. So now he's held Charles at gunpoint with his own freaking shotgun and Charles's rifle. So gets Charles into the house, basically. So it's still like we're still trying to work out who the leak was in regards to Norman, and how he managed to know that Bianca and her team were going to be at the first house that he was laid out at. Nobody knows who the leak is, but the black guy that is the head of the stuff, that is the boss in regards to who Bianca goes and basically is their first point of call when she goes and she speaks to, or he has that camaraderie with her, could kind of be, as I'm thinking, could kind of be the leak. The reason being why I say that is because when he opened his phone after he'd spoken to the first in command, and she turned around and she told him, well, it was a good idea you didn't tell me about Hungary. He goes back out of the office, he opens up his phone, and he's got text messages from someone, and someone definitely saying we need to talk, which kind of opens up the aspect that actually we could be looking at the wrong person when it comes to the leak within that office. But this man is so intertwined and so close with Bianca that I don't think she's going to see that he could be a bit of a dangerous person. You do guess it when it flips back to Charles in this farm person's bloody house and everything like that. This man is literally doing everything to intimidate Charles, not knowing what's going to be coming his way. So when this man tries to force feed Charles some salted bread up in this man's mouth, let's just put it this way, the Jackal came out to play at that point. So the Jackal does end up killing him. Okay, so before that, because there was such a language barrier between the both of them, the guy ends up calling his brother, who lives on a different plot of land, who has a farmhand basically who can speak English. So he ends up speaking to this person who can speak English, not full English but stilted English, understands English and can answer back. So he's basically telling this person that, you know what, he can give this man money, X, Y, and Z. So them two then end up packing up, getting in the truck to go over to where this man is holding the Jackal, not realising at that point now he's done killed the man, because the man tried to put hands on him, basically. And I thought, well, you reap what you sow at the end of the day. You don't know what you're dealing with. You decided to try and exert your authority over this man that you found in your barn, and you didn't know who the fuck he was at the end of the day. So he killed your clot. That's all I can say. He killed Jackal. So the two that were coming over to that home ended up booking up on like a police cordon, and they end up telling them exactly what's happened in regards to Norman's compound and him getting shot and all the things that have happened since then. So this man believes that he's going to get an actual payday, because he did not tell the police that actually we are now on the way to my brother's farm where he's holding this supposed suspect. But now he knows that there's money involved. He thought, yeah, gonna get payday. And I thought, no, you're just gonna get your ass killed, mate. You're gonna get your ass killed. And that's what happens. He ends up killing the dude, like gorily, so shooting him in the ankles and then shooting him in the chest. Right, so the farmhand does come out of the house and holds like a rubber bullet gun to him, and from looking at the farmhand, you know he's not about that life in the slightest. He drops it, apologizes to him. So as it happens, they have a car. Charlie commandeers that car, gets him to drive while sitting in the back, and pokes the shotgun in him basically, and gets him to drive where he needs to go. So we know at this point the Jackal still needs to do his job, but it's become riskier and riskier, because at the end of the day the Jackal is now stuck in Hungary, and he needs to get to Talon, where this billionaire person is who's about to like explode this freaking AI equipment in regards to River to the nation, and they need him to be stopped. But also Charles knows he's got the MI6 and all those people closing in like a noose around his freaking neck, so he has to do something. So what he does, and this is how Charles the Jackal is a master of manipulation. Yeah, he is a master of manipulation. Repeat with me, master of manipulation. Okay, so we see the clip where his wife has been taken to a divorce lawyer's office by the mother. The wife's family has an ulterior motive, because they know the breaking into Charles's little, inner sanctum, that he's got money, a lot of money, and probably more so than that, yeah. So they got greedy. So now the mother's trying to find out from the lawyer what type of percentage she will get if she decided to divorce this man. So as the mother is speaking to the lawyer, that's when Charles, using the farmhand's phone, because don't forget he doesn't want to be tracked, so we can't use his phone in the slightest, calls his wife's number because he's got that on rope. And this is where he begins the manipulation in getting his wife to help him, because his wife knows something is up with her husband but doesn't know the actual truth, and he is not telling her the truth or willing to tell her the truth, and that's why she's at a crossroads right now in regards to where she goes with this man. So what Charles does is gives her a hint of the truth. So he uses the fact that, when I built this house, I had an extension built on, and there's this room. So the wife turns around and says to him, Charles, I already know about the room. But Charles already knew that the wife knew about the room, because he's watching them on camera. He's watching their move every time they step in that room. So Charles using that was a game in terms of giving her a snippet of the truth, because he already knew about it, without releasing what he needed to release, to lull her into a false sense of security, enough of the truth for her to then help him, which she does. So she ends up going and meeting him in Hungary, taking his case and everything he needs in order to change his whole persona to get the fuck out of Hungary at the end of the day. The Jackal changes himself into this older gentleman in a wheelchair, and you can see him then being wheeled through the airport with his wife walking ahead of him, believing that she's not aware of him. So basically his wife has asked him, why are you doing this? And he point blank tells her that there's people after him, and he needs to be able to get out to where it is he needs to go to safely. This woman does not question a damn thing. Like, seriously, you can see she has all these questions and equations going on in her mind, but she doesn't question anything that she does. She just full-heartedly helps this man. I mean, I think if she realised that he kills people for a living and that's where the money comes from, I think she might draw a line there, but she knows that he's doing something that he ain't meant to be doing, basically. So they manage to get to the airport. Wife goes off in a different direction to where it is that she needs to go to get back home. He ends up getting on the plane to Tallinn. He does see Bianca and her teammate in the airport and he's like, shit. So he tries not to stare at them too much because they've been ordered to go back to London. So as he's sitting on the plane now waiting to go to Tallinn, he's probably thinking, whew, had a lucky escape. But sod's law, the plane is taking too long to take off. It's delayed a little minute, and that's what they tell them. So then, as he looks up from his paper, who should but walk onto the plane but Bianca and her teammate? Because they've been ordered to go to Tallinn. Now his disguise is that good that they don't even recognise who the freak he is. Bianca doesn't even recognise that, you know what, the actual Jackal is sitting right behind you. So now what that gives the Jackal is a bit of an advantage, because now he knows that they're onto him. Now he knows that they know where he is going next. Now he knows that he's about to assassinate this billionaire who's trying to bring out this freaking app called River, which the rich people are trying to stop. Yeah. So he has that little bit of an advantage because he knows that they know he is coming. So he knows exactly what his next steps will be now in order to protect himself, but still try and carry out the job that has been asked of him to do. You do see that there are little snippets throughout the episodes of the goodness or the man that Charles used to be showing through. You do see flashbacks though of his army days, in terms of a whole family's been assassinated and you see Charles like literally standing there and turning around, but you don't actually know if it was him that actually pulled the trigger on this family. But whatever this memory is, it seems to be plaguing him a lot. So whatever's happened has brought him to the crossroads that he's at right now in regards to the lifestyle that he has decided to lead, being literally a gun for hire, a dangerous gun for hire at that. So Bianca is fully on a rampage to get this man. Throughout these 2 episodes, this woman has totally forgot about her family. Like, totally forgot about her family. She don't even know her family exists. Even though I think she has a little bit of a fancy for her teammate, because when they got to the hotel room and she was like, you know, when they stand there and they kind of freeze and like, oh, okay. And she was probably thinking that, you know, you drop your stuff in them, they'll probably go for a drink or something like that, or she'd be invited into the room. It was her teammate that turned around to her and said, you know what, you need to go and speak to your family. And she went, yeah. And I thought, that woman is not going to speak to her family in any way, shape or form at the end of the day, because this woman don't want a family, to be honest with you. She had a family, I think, to follow the crowd and to save face. I think she loves her daughter to a point, she loves her husband to a point, but she loves her job a lot more. So this is why I say that Bianca and the Jackal are 2 sides of the same coin, because they're both married but they're lonely. They're both married to the jobs. There is full secrecy going on between both of them. Both of their marriages are breaking apart. And as I said, Bianca hasn't even checked in with her husband and her child at the end of the day, and they will both win at all costs, no matter what it is they have to go through in order to get it. They're one and the same, both of them. So we have them both in Tallinn. So you have the Jackal, Bianca and her team in Tallinn. The Jackal ends up getting in accommodation through Airbnb, but under an assumed name. The issue that ends up happening is the police at the end, coming to the end of the episode, knocks on the door that Charles is in, and apparently there's been a robbery of one of the homes upstairs. It's the female police officer that asked the most questions and had a feeling of suspicion about Charles, to the point that, you know, she asked for his name, she asked for his telephone number in order to, like, you know, if we need to call you for more inquiries, can we have your telephone number? He provided them with a telephone number. My gal even stood there and rang his phone until you could hear it ringing in the room before she walked off. So she had her suspicions, and Charles could tell that she was suspicious of him. So what he did then is he knew that he had to leave that place just in case anything came back from that. And this is why I said the net is starting to tighten more and more upon the Jackal. So he ends up using his manipulation techniques to call a man that he'd met in the previous episodes, when he'd lost his phone, checking out the auditorium where this billionaire guy that he needs to kill is going to give a speech in regards to River and release it. So the Jackal was checking that space out in order to see, well, what's the best place where I can get a good aim and angle and view from. So he ended up dropping his phone into the auditorium, and it was, I think his name is Ramses or something more than that, that went back, found his phone and then gave it to him. Now he knew that this man was gay. He knew that this man was very much interested in him. And this is where I say the manipulation techniques of the Jackal knows no bounds. In order to get what he wants, this man will be a means to an end to what he needs. So he ends up calling this dude, meets him for a drink. The dude, they end up going back to the dude's place, and the dude says, well, you can stay here rather than going to a hotel, which is what he does, which is what he wanted to do in first and foremost, because he needed that man to be able to get back into that auditorium. So I said, means to an end. He ended up sleeping with this man too, having a full-on sexual relationship with this man. Now, that's not to say that I believe that the Jackal is honest to God, tried and tested, true, a gay man. I don't think he will probably see himself as a gay man, but he's not above using a gay person in order to get to the end goal of what it is that he wants, which is what he did. So as the episodes go on, you see Bianca manage to put up a composite drawing of what they believe the Jackal looks like, especially based on the limited view that Bianca had. Now, to me, it didn't look like him at all. Like, seriously, didn't look like him at all. For me, there was no recognizable features in that drawing except for probably his lips. But for some reason, it worked. For some unknown reason it worked, because the police officer who had all those questions for Charles when he was in that Airbnb actually came forward saying that she'd recognized him as the man in the flat that she went to go and speak to, and felt that there was something suspicious about him. So she's saying that she's seen this man at the end of the day. What I'm confused about though is when they went to go and ram-raid this bloody flat to see if the Jackal was still there. I don't know why they thought the Jackal was still there. He's not that freaking stupid. He's quite savvy in his movements. He's always one step ahead at the end of the day. Yeah. And didn't find him there. The police officer never mentioned to Bianca and her teammates when they were speaking to her about it that she had this man's number, that she actually called this man's number and heard the telephone ring when she called it. So his phone could have been made trackable to them, and he did not get rid of his phone, which was odd in and of itself, to be honest with you. But he left that accommodation because he knew the police officer had suspicions about him. So to me, the story didn't in certain parts didn't gel for me. But I ain't gonna say that I don't like the program. I really do. But yeah, definitely in certain parts it kind of didn't gel for me. I thought, like, in regards to the composite drawing, I thought that it was too easy from a drawing that didn't look like the man, and that's kind of why it spoiled it for me a bit. I thought it would, if they did that composite drawing, I thought nothing would come of it because he didn't really look like the dude. I thought it would at least come to a dead end, but it didn't. So I suppose when it comes to the terms of the writing of this program, all things happen for a reason. So I'm steadfastly following, like, you know, the plot of the land, and the line of the story. That's what I'm doing. So you do see that there's an assassination attempt on Bianca and her colleague. I don't even know why I'm laughing at that point. And this was at the request of the Jackal when he spoke to the head person that he needs to speak to in regards to sending messages back to the people that have hired him to kill this billionaire. So Bianca, in regards to that, her reaction honestly told me that she thought she was untouchable in this job. She thought that she did not realize that this job could wind up being the death of her at the end of the day. Yeah. So this attempt made Bianca, instead of shy away, made her more determined to catch this man. Like seriously more determined to catch this man. So you see Charles is in full on manipulation mode with the guy that he's moved in with, yeah. And you can see he tempers himself with Rasmus. That's the guy that he's moved in with. And you see the clip move to the wife at home with her brother and her mother. And this is why I say that her brother and her mother were literally just about the money, because the brother is literally going to Charles's wife to say that he had this deal on the table in regards to this bar in the centre of wherever it is. Yeah, the same deal he spoke to Charles about, and Charles said no, he's not getting involved in that he wants to buy out his friend from this bar. So they managed to convince Charles's wife to open the doors of that room for the brother to go in and get this money out. But what they didn't realise, because the mother was talking to Charles's wife and distracting her, the brother was literally taking out more money than he should have got out, and ended up taking one of the guns that was in there too. Now Charles was watching all of this, and my thing is I don't think Charles likes being double crossed by people or being crossed by people, even if it's his wife's family. So this man has now taken a gun which more than likely would be licensed to that household. So if he used it, it would come back to them, namely come back to Charles, namely come back to the Jackal. So he is going to have to deal with that shit. Hopefully, if he manages to make it out of this motherfucking scenario, this shitstorm, this shitball alive. So we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Ramses manages to take the Jackal. He doesn't know he's the Jackal at the end of the day, because he's known by a different name to Ramas as well. He's known by a completely different name. I keep saying Ramses, thinking of Love is freaking blind. His name is Ramas. Yeah, so he ends up managing to allow the Jackal into the auditorium where he needs to be, because he ends up telling him that, you know, that he can take him in for today because there's going to be a concert on, but after the concert's happened, it's literally the whole lot is going to be shut down because something important is happening after. But the Jackal knows that's where he needs to be. Okay, so he manages to get himself into that auditorium to be able to go and seek out the spot that he needs to get to, the exact spot he needs to get to, in order to hide and stay in that auditorium as well. Then we see the Jackal get to his hiding place in the auditorium after he's gone through the check marks in regards to security, to listen to this pianoforte, which he's not remotely interested in. He's just remotely interested in getting his spot settled. So it ends up going up into the rafters, as you do. Manages to find a slot that he can lie underneath. Now we do see people and Bianca and security with guns going back and forth where he's lying, where he's sleeping, and where he's staying till the following day to be able to action out his plan of killing this man. They don't see him, and the reason why they don't see him is there is a blind spot in that area. So where he is down that hatch, there's a solid steel walkway. On either side it's a mesh walkway, so you can actually see through it. So he can see up and see who's walking over that walkway, but they can't see him. What I found weird though is that these people could see that there was a hatch there, and even though Bianca looked down and was looking and seeing if she could see anything and didn't see anything and walked away, nobody said, where's the key for this hatch so we can open it up and take a look? Like, see, no one said that. You see them all come in the following morning. They all get checked out. They have bigger security on tap, so people are walking through and it's like a whole body scanner. And Rasmus is there too as he's walking into work. We know that the Jackal has stayed overnight, so for them to do all this security thinking that this man is going to walk in on that night and shoot at a glass screen is beyond me. Like he is, they know he's more methodical and thought out and planned out than that. So I don't know why they thought that he would just walk in through the front doors. I don't know. Where Charles was, I had the impression that he would be lying down there because Udin is going to have this like screen all around him which is bulletproof, and I thought the bullet would come from up top where the Jackal was lying. But that's not the case. That's not what happened, because I thought to myself, okay, if he manages to pop off a shot from there, how in the hell is he going to be able to get out? Because they're going to tell where the trajectory of the bullet came from in order to kill this dude. It rolls on. We see the Jackal manage to come out of his hideout. So that's not where he's going to shoot this dude, basically. It does do a flashback as well to Bianca's family literally sitting there. So the whole nation is going to be sitting there watching this man's speech and watching what's going to be happening live. So I was like, oh, okay. So you see the Jackal end up killing one of the guards that is making the rounds where he was lying down. Now, in some of the episodes, you see the Jackal literally sharpening, like rubbing his credit card down. Now, I didn't realize what he was doing that for until he got to the lighting technician, because he needed to sit where the lighting technician was, and this guy sliced this man's neck open with his credit card. Let's just put it that way. So I thought, okay, he's behind the lights, so this would be the perfect kind of backdrop for him, because no one's going to see the glint from his eye scope when he's literally locking onto this guy to shoot him, and no one's necessarily going to know which way the bullet has come from. So you see that the Jackal is literally readying himself for this shot, because this guy is literally talking, but he's literally staying as close to the bulletproof glass as he can. So the Jackal right now can't get his shot off. So the shock of it is a security guard that was already up in the place ends up walking on the stage, telling this man to fuck off, and then shouts, "See you next Tuesday." I'm saying it in the acronym because I hate that freaking word, okay? And then literally pops off a shot. But the Jackal cleverly, as he pops off, as the security guard pops off a shot to try and shoot him, man misses, even though he's at point blank range. Absolutely misses the dude, yeah. Misses him completely, yeah. So he's not a sharpshooter. The Jackal ends up shooting at the same time, but ends up shooting the glass. So now you know that, there's going to be two shooters in the place. So then, as they end up killing the security guard, the Jackal's then waiting for another shot to be taken. But what happens is the armed police who have the shields end up coming on the stage, covering this man and taking him out, so the Jackal cannot get the shot. So I'm like, oh shit, what happens next? Because the Jackal didn't do what he should have been paid to do at the end of the day, because Udin is still alive. UND is still alive. He ain't dead. So the Jackal ends up having to run, basically. And then it's as Bianca realizes that, you know what, because she's smart. She's totally smart. Yeah, realizes that there was two shots, and tries to try and find him, that the camera scopes out the whole pandemonium of the situation, because everybody's trying to get out. And then, as Sod's Law would have it, the family end up seeing Bianca on screen in regards to her job and what it is that she does. So as the dad is trying to get the remote off the two boys, because I don't think the twin boys that he has ends up seeing her, but the daughter definitely does. So she realizes, my mom has a dangerous motherfucking job at the end of the day. That's what she realizes. But the dad literally is trying to protect her from that, but it's way too late for all of that at the end of the day. So as they're now trying to get people, the the building itself to shut the doors, the one woman says, we are not shutting the doors because that will cause a mass stampede. So within that stampede, you see Charles put on his cap. He literally walks himself out of there. So now as Charles is walking across the road, yeah, you see Ramos shout his name constantly. And I'm like, Ramos, please don't do that, because this man, it's not going to end well with you. This man is going to kill you. Yeah, because he knows that you can identify him if push comes to shove, and you can put a spotlight on him. So now as Ramos gets to him, he turns around and he says, hey. And then, as innocent as you please, all Ramos says to him, oh, so I thought you'd left. And he says no. And then as the Jackal puts his hands over his face, like lovingly puts his hands over his face, he hands up, going to this man's neck, in a way snapping it, but not, because it's so intimate in the way that he does it, because Ramos actually now realizes what the fuck is happening to him, that he's not going to get out of this situation alive, and ends up looking at him as if to say, what? And the Jackal just literally watches him while he takes his last breath.
Hi. Hey. Thought you left.
And then leaves him and then walks off. It was a slow and painful death. That's all I can say, because you could see the point on this man's face, the realization that this man who he opened his home and his body to is killing him. It's a bad series. It's a bad series. Oh God. Oh my God. That is where it ended. So I literally have to wait for episode 8 and 9 to come on. And as I said, it's going to be each Thursday now. They're bringing out one episode. So I'm not going to be able to do a whole bundle of them like I hoped I would be able to do. But my God, is this, it is good. There were some bits where as I said, I question, but I have to say that it is good. So that is where I'm going to leave it, my renegades. Thank you so much for riding me to where you are riding with me right now. And please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so you know I'm on new videos. Please comment, like, share, and do the good things that you do, because you know what? I am on the road to 1K. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.